I definitely meant to do this when I hit 100K. I'm at 137K, so I'm a little late. What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another video. Today I am doing my next Q&A. This was supposed to be for my 100,000 subscriber, but that happened all the way back in January. It is July. Let's just say life got a little bit hectic and I finally found time to do it. I believe the last time I did one was at 80K, which was almost exactly a year ago, so it feels right to be doing it again. And fun fact, this video was voted on by my members to do this week, so if you also want to help decide what videos I do every single week, as well as some other fun perks like early release of videos and fun emojis, make sure you hit the join button below. Now, I'm going to try and get through as many as possible. I've pretty much set myself a timer for roughly 30 minutes to record. I feel like that's kind of my sweet spot. So maybe I'll split this into two parts because I believe I got like over 70 questions, which by the way, thank you. That's like really exciting to me that so many of you are interested in hearing just random answers to random questions. So if I don't get to your question, don't feel bad. It's not anything against you. It's just I'm racing against time. But we're gonna dive right in, but before we do, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. My 30th birthday is 2 months away, almost exactly, and I am trying to get to 30,000 followers on there before or by then. Right now I'm about at 18K, so I've been doing pretty good over there, so if you want to join in on that, I also post cosplays and that sort of thing that I don't usually post here, so make sure you follow me. It's linked in the description. Alright, enough of an opening, let's get into it. Now, a lot of the questions that y'all submitted are specifically Demon Slayer related. I am gonna get through a few of those, but since my entire channel is dedicated to that, some of these questions might actually just turn into an entire video, so keep that in mind. If you ask me a specifically Demon Slayer question, it might just be something that's gonna be addressed in a video at some point. But our first question is, which character in Demon Slayer do you secretly hate? It can be Demon or Demon Slayer. I don't know if I secretly hate any of the characters because, fun fact, I'm pretty vocal about the characters that I love and the characters that I dislike. I think everyone who watches me knows I'm not the biggest fan of Gyoko or Muzan or Doma. They're just like not really characters that I enjoy. So I wouldn't say there's really anyone that I secretly hate. I'm thinking of like the random side characters. There's like random side characters that are annoying. For the sake of this video and for the sake of answering the question, I'll go with the guy that dumped Mitsuri, because I don't think it's a secret, but I don't really talk about it because he's pretty irrelevant to the story, but I hate him. Which character in Demon Slayer is underrated? And if I said Tanjiro? It's Tanjiro. I think just in general, a lot of times main characters are underrated in their own fandoms because it is definitely more common to prefer some of the other characters. Main characters often, because they're the main character, their development is the story as a whole, while for like the side characters, they get their own moments. So I do feel like a lot of times the main characters get underrated because it's like you don't really know their whole story until the very end, since the story is technically theirs. So I just don't see a ton of people love on Tanjiro, and I would love to see more because I think he deserves a lot more love. So yes, my answer is Tanjiro. This one was interesting. I'm just going to answer it quickly. Have you ever considered making a response video to Captain Mac's Demon Slayer is extraordinarily incompetent video? I have considered this. The problem is the video rage baits me and I can only get like 15 minutes through it before I literally am rage quitting, because every single thing that he says he tries to bring up as objective and it's not, it's all subjective. And a lot of it, like literally the first thing he brought up, okay, this is gonna be my quick rant, and then I might address it at some point. I don't think so. I'm not really in the business for like coming at other creators. I don't really like that kind of content, so I probably won't. But I will say, I think it was the very first point he made, is that it's never explained how the swords work. But the scene that he was playing as B-roll explained how the swords worked. And then he pinned a comment where he said, "Sorry y'all, I missed that, it was explained in that episode, which means something like either A, he did not pay attention when he watched the show, and therefore none of the points that he's making have any merit because he clearly wasn't paying attention, or B, he knew that it was in that scene and chose to put it in anyway, which also means none of the points after have any merit because he's willing to just lie in order to make his points. Either way, as soon as I saw that, to me that means I'm not going to take his opinion at all. And that's it. I think I got about halfway through the video before I was just like, this is dumb. I just don't understand why you would spend the hours upon hours upon hours to drag on something popular when you could spend those hours talking about things that you love. I just don't get it. Okay, the first non-Demon Slayer related question. What anime do you think is underrated or too overhated and deserves to have more attention? So I wouldn't say there's shows that are overhated outside of Demon Slayer that I watch. I feel like most of the other shows, the criticism that I see for it is fairly average. I'm gonna go just the more underrated route, and I'm gonna say the Case Study of Vanitas is like my favorite underrated anime. The Case Study of Vanitas is about Vanitas, who is a human but is acting as a doctor to vampires, and he kind of lives in the in-between world. It's been a minute since I've watched it, so I might get some of the plot a little bit off, but the characters are really interesting. The story is going in like a lot of twisty turns. You don't really know where it's going, and I really like it. It only has one season. People say it's two. It was one season with 2 cores, but I'm hoping it'll get another season at some point. Natsuki Hanai plays Vanitas, and that's the whole reason why I started watching it. So that's my favorite underrated anime. Now I will say, I would say it's rated M for mature. It's definitely got some mature themes in it, so if you are young, just keep that in mind. I like this one. If you could write any sequel to any anime series, what would it be about and which anime would you choose to make it for? So this might be pretty predictable, but I would actually love a slice of life Demon Slayer sequel. I know a lot of people see like a sequel to Demon Slayer being impossible just because of how it ends, which I'm not going to get into because I don't want to have to like tell anime onlys they can't watch this video. But I do genuinely wish we could just see some happiness, some just like regular life with the characters, and I do wish there were a couple of things that they kind of tied up a little bit more at the end, which I would do in that situation. So I've actually, what's funny, whenever I read fanfiction, I tend to lean more towards the fanfiction that takes place post-canon because I just like reading about our characters as being normal kids. So I would probably write a sequel to Demon Slayer and have it be a slice of life. Okay, this is an easy one that I can hopefully get through fast. My top 3 anime. My top 3 anime are number 1, Demon Slayer, obviously. Number 3, The Apothecary Diaries. And I skipped over 2 because this has been a mystery. Some people have been trying to guess it. Well, I'm giving you your answer now. My number 2 favorite anime is Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan was actually my first like official anime experience. I watched Yuri on Ice when it came out in 2016. However, I was only watching it because I was a figure skater and the figure skating world was talking about it. Attack on Titan was the first anime that I've watched where I actually started watching it because I had interest in anime. So it holds a special place in my heart. It's also just a total masterpiece from beginning to end. I loved every second of it. I cried a lot over it. I don't really make many videos on it for 2 reasons. Number 1 is, I mean, it ended like 3 years ago, so I feel like most everything that's been talked about with them has been talked about. And number 2 is I don't know if I can do the story justice, so I just leave it be. This one's different. How was the Mahoyo trailer at Anime Expo? Will you be watching? So Mahoyo, I believe, is Witch on Holy Night. It was really good. I don't know much about the story at all, but the trailer was really good, and I definitely intend to go and see it. Who is your least favorite Hashira and why? Okay, so before I answer this, I always like to put out the disclaimer. I love all 9 Hashira. I genuinely think they are all very good characters with very interesting stories. When it comes to ranking them, I actually find it pretty difficult because Giyu remains on top as a favorite Hashira. The rest rotate quite often. I'm not gonna lie, it is almost never the same. I can't say that I love all of them equally, but I can say that they're all very, very lovable, and even when I have a least favorite Hashira, it's just because they are at the bottom of all of them. They're still easily top 15 characters of the story, and my least favorite Hashira is Obanai. The main reason is, and again, I'm going to try and say this without spoiling, his backstory comes very late, I'll just say that, and I felt like because it was so late, I just didn't have any emotional capacity to care that much anymore. Because all the other Hashira have gone that development, his came so late that I was just kind of like, by then, I was like, I can't do this anymore. He gets again, how can I say this without just saying outright spoilers? I would say I don't like the way he treats Tanjiro. And you might be going, well, Hannah, isn't Sanemi one of your favorites? Yes. I can explain maybe at a later time, but that's the main reason is why he's there. It just, sometimes when it comes to ranking my Hashira, I literally just do it in order of how much I remember them, and sometimes when I'm ranking all of them, Obanai, like, I just can't remember exists. I'm sorry. He's not my fave, but I still love him, so Oh, this one's fun. Least favorite arc in Demon Slayer. So we're going with the, like, people are asking me for things I dislike so that I can rage bait people. I, again, will put the disclaimer that I love every single arc in Demon Slayer. Everything in Demon Slayer is at least an 8 out of 10 or higher for me. That's why I love it so much, is that every single arc keeps me interested and I enjoy every single one. I would have to say my least favorite is Hashira training, just because training arcs are usually my least favorite parts of stories. They still do an incredible job at it. I just would have to say it falls to the bottom just because of it not being as interesting as the rest. I like there to be stakes, and there are stakes during the Hashira training arc, especially at the end. But, I don't know, that's just who I am. Ooh, okay, this one's interesting. Do you think there is an anime out there that will replace Demon Slayer as your favorite anime, for example, One Piece? I think there is. So, I've had hyperfixations throughout my life. I have always been someone who, when I love something, I love it, and it's my entire life. I've been like that for as long as I can remember. It goes all the way back to when I was like a little kid, and I was obsessed with Sleeping Beauty. It is part of the way my brain works. Once I like something, I can't stop thinking about it. But I do go through seasons. Demon Slayer, without a doubt, has been one of the longest ones, as it is currently at about 4.5 years since it became a hyperfixation, and I don't really see it going away anytime soon. But I would say it'll likely be a few years after the series ends via the anime. Of course, the series has been over for a long time via the manga, when, I kind of have to move on. If I want to continue with my content creation, I would have to kind of find something else to talk about, and I think I would eventually kind of move on to the next thing. Now, as far as what I think the next thing would be, as of right now, I could very much see it being Witch Hat Atelier. I'm caught up on the manga. There is going to be a video about it soon, and I've already gotten to the point where sometimes I see sad edits on my TikTok page and start sobbing. So it very much could be the next thing, but it kind of just depends on the timing of everything. If there's something else that pops up, if One Piece becomes a hyperfixation, it very well could. I'm like 250 episodes in, and I've been really enjoying it. So I definitely think eventually, yes, something will take over as my favorite and as a hyperfixation. However, Demon Slayer has meant so much to me, more than just I'm obsessed with this show. It's brought me friendships, it's inspired me to travel the world, it's inspired me to learn a new language. I don't know if it'll ever get knocked out of my top 3, because even 10 years from now, when, we're looking back on it as an anime that has been over for a while, I think I will still have that love for it, kind of like Attack on Titan is now. I'll just remember it fondly, and it'll always remain up there. Okay, I'll answer this one because, again, it's pretty interesting. So I know the way you can love and appreciate a character in K and Y in Demon Slayer can be a lot influenced based on the way the story makes them interact and develop them around Tanjiro. My biggest interrogation is how Muichiro can be that low in your Hashira's ranking, knowing Kanao Tanjiro is the person that freed Muichiro and made him overcome his heavy PTSD from his tragic, awful story. And in bonus, we only ever see Muichiro as a kid his age for the first time happy again when he sees Tanjiro and play, or I think this is supposed to say origami, all together. So, yes, a lot of the characters that I love because of how they interact with Tanjiro. I know I've said that multiple times. But as I said earlier with the Hashira, it also comes down to just how big of an impression they leave on me. And unfortunately, Muichiro does not leave as big of an impression on me. That's really it. I don't know why. I can't really put my finger on why. He's my 8th favorite Hashira. And again, I like to remind everyone that, like, that's top 15 characters in Demon Slayer. So it's not like I dislike him or I like have feelings of not love towards him. I have nothing but love for Muichiro. There's just something about him. I like a lot of the other Hashiras slightly better, and that's really the only way I can explain it. Do I have pets? Yes, I have a cat and a dog. My cat's name is Nezuko. My dog's name is Mika, which is short for Mikasa. And I love them both dearly. They are my daughters. Was it hard to grow your channel at first, or did you find it easy? Okay, I like these kinds of questions. So it's always been hard for me. I feel like ever since I started creating content, I have been scratching and clawing my way through. Because I feel like when you see these people that have huge channels, you either haven't been with them since the start, or they do blow up very quickly. As someone who would love to be able to get invited to big events like Demon Slayer premieres and that sort of thing, I feel like I'm chasing kind of an unknown number because I don't know what their threshold is for inviting creators. So I do feel like I'm like chasing this like unknown, trying to get somewhere where I might get noticed by someone important and be able to go to these events, but it's not easy. It's really rather difficult. I feel like most of us have to go this route where it takes us years and years and years and years. Obviously, I don't do this full time. I've talked about this a lot. I don't make enough money for this to be full time, and my YouTube channel is actually having a really bad month with views and money and everything, so that's great, but it's not easy. I still try to look back on the fact that I've really only been posting consistently for about 2 years, and I do think the growth has been incredible, and sometimes I tend to focus too much on the ever-shifting guard post that I'm chasing rather than realizing how good things are going. But it's not the easiest job, it's not the easiest thing to do because you tend to get too focused on that constant need to grow and that sort of thing. So I find it very difficult, but that's just me, I guess. And I'll add a caveat because you asked multiple questions. Would you ever do a makeup tutorial? I don't know. I feel like I'm not that good at makeup. I've taken like probably a decade to get my makeup skills to where they're at now, and they're still not what I would like. So if y'all really want it, maybe I'll do like one of those like get ready with me videos where I'll talk about something while I do my makeup, if you're interested in that, but that's probably the best I could do. Can you make some My Hero Academia content? Maybe. I've done one video, and there's 2 things that are going through my head when I think about making My Hero Academia content. Number 1 is the interest of my audience, because I do have a desire to continue to grow and a desire to make this my full-time job. I do have to kind of follow the algorithm. I'm a bit of a slave to the algorithm. When something doesn't do well, I tend to rethink what it is. The My Hero Academia video that I posted did fine. It was definitely one of the lower performing videos of the year. So that's like one of the reasons why it's not really at the top of my list right now. The other is I like it. It's not in my top 10. So I don't have a ton of thoughts, and when it comes to like talking about animes, I really like to talk about the ones that I feel like I have genuine knowledge on, which is why I mostly talk about Demon Slayer, because that's the one that just like takes up most of my brain space. Even though there are lots of animes that I love and adore, Demon Slayer is just that hyperfixation, so I have so many thoughts. It's like literally overflowing. I have probably at least 10 years worth of videos to make without even like pausing to make a video about a trailer or the next movie or anything like that. So it's really difficult for me to sit down and make a video about something that I don't care that much about, because my brain just, it doesn't think about it very much. I don't know how else to describe that. By the way, Check out the new phone case. Who introduced you to anime and Demon Slayer? My husband. My husband, when we met, I had never seen anime. And this is not because I was a hater. I feel like a lot of people, when they find out that I started watching anime during COVID, they immediately brand me as like, well, you're just chasing the trend. You probably were a bully to people who liked anime in, high school, because I'm 30, so I was growing up like during the time when Naruto and Dragon Ball and all of them were on like Cartoon Network and stuff. That's not the case. So I am a nerd, and I have been a nerd my entire life. It just so happens that 2020 is when Avatar: Last Airbender came to Netflix, and I watched it for the first time, and I realized I might actually enjoy some animated series, and then I fell in love with anime and have never looked back. My husband had been trying to get me to watch anime pretty much since we had met in 2017. There was just so many things I hadn't seen, because fun fact, I lived a very sheltered life growing up. I was homeschooled, and my parents were very strict on what I was allowed to watch. I was not allowed to watch Cartoon Network. I was not allowed to watch Nickelodeon. I was barely allowed to watch Disney Channel. So it's not a matter of, oh, I grew up knowing what anime was and just thought it was uncool and have changed my mind since then. It is I literally didn't even really know it existed, because my parents were not okay with me watching something like that, because that's the way I was raised. I had a very interesting childhood. That's that. My husband got me into it. I started in 2020. And when it comes to Demon Slayer, that was just like kind of a team decision. There was one day we were scrolling Netflix trying to find a show to watch. I had heard of Demon Slayer. Some people had suggested me watching it because I was still making Avatar: Last Airbender content at the time. And we just decided to watch it. The rest is history. What is an anime that you did not enjoy? There are very few animes that I did not enjoy. I'm trying to decide if I go here. I'm trying to decide if I go for it and say the one anime. Okay, there is one anime I didn't really enjoy. And unfortunately, it was Vinland Saga. It wasn't for me. I did not like any of the characters. The story was good, like the writing is good, I just didn't like it. So that's the only one that I can really say if someone's like, what's an anime you dislike? I don't even think I disliked it. I was just like not impressed by it. That's all. Will you ever react to Demon Slayer dubbed? No, I'm sorry. I don't want to go there. Have you watched Haikyuu before? If so, who's your favorite and least favorite character? Okay, yes, Haikyuu. I love it. It's actually in my top 10. I think it's around number 9. It has gotten pushed down over time, but it is a very good anime, and I was very surprised by how much I enjoyed it. My favorite character is Nishinoya. I love that little gremlin so much. He's also voiced by Okamoto-san, who is Genya and Bakugo, amongst many others, and I love him, so I'm a big fan of his voice acting. I thought like Hinata was going to be my favorite character, and he is very high up there, but I ended up liking Nishinoya and Kagayama better than him, but Nishinoya is just, that's my son. My least favorite character? I don't really have one. I can't really think of any. I will say I didn't really love Oikawa, and he's very popular in the fandom, so I was like expecting him to be very lovable, and I just kind of found him annoying, but I think there's more to come. I have not read the manga for Haikyuu. I have considered it because of how long the rest of the story is taking to get animated. I've considered reading it, but I don't really have a least favorite. I would just say I kind of had question marks over my head when I started to get to know Oikawa, because I knew he was popular going into it, and I was just kind of like, shit, he's fine, he's kind of annoying. Anyway, what is a Demon Slayer fun fact that you can't stand? So there are quite a few, and they put fun fact in quotations as in the fun facts that people spread that are just completely wrong. I would probably say the Shinobu told everyone of her plan but Gyu, because she knew Gyu wouldn't let her do it, and I'm like, literally no. At least when people were like, oh, Sanemi was going to confess to Kanai the day that she died, that's like, okay, that clearly was a headcanon that got turned into a fun fact somewhere along the way. Like, if you want to believe that, you can believe that. The problem with the Shinobu fact is that it is completely against canon, and it is very clearly explained in the story that she only told Kanao because of how the plan was going down, and she was trying to save her, but it was also part of like their development as sisters, part of Kanao's development. So it really just takes something that is like very canon, because it is very much explained explained in the story that Kanao is the only person to know of her plan and makes it about a man. And that just really pisses me off, honestly. So now that I'm like saying it, that's one, I can't stand a lot of them, but that one has to be above all the others. Okay, there are so many questions. I'm trying to find the best one to do. I think this will be the last one. I might do a part 2, I'm not gonna lie. But what made you want to start YouTube, social media, and do you have any tips about starting that helped you? So I thought this would be a fun way to end. I've talked a little bit about my social media journey and that sort of thing. I have always loved the idea of being more in the creative space and talking about things that I love. My current job, it's not necessarily creative, but it is, I do a lot of talking and I do a lot of just like chatting with people, and that is something that I love about my current job. But I always wanted to make that talking be about things that I genuinely cared about, not just whatever the job is that I'm doing. So I think it was probably around 2020 when I feel like content creation, especially short form content creation, really became a thing. And I was home, I wasn't working that much, I had things to say. I just kind of decided, why not try? I did think that it would be easier to gain a following on TikTok and then have those people follow me to YouTube. I was like, oh, once I hit like 50K on TikTok, I bet I'll hit like 40K on YouTube. No. People don't follow you to every social media, even though I talk about it a lot. I'm always like introducing my videos as like, please follow me or join my membership, whatever. Not many people do that, which is fine. But I think my goal was always to be on YouTube. I can't really say when I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to do. I think I'd already kind of started and I was like, this would be a really fun job. I wish I could do this full time. So that's kind of why I decided to start. That's why I wanted to do it. Any tips? I would personally say, know that there's a happy balance. Talk about things that you want to talk about, but if you do want to make it and you want it to be bigger, you have to kind of pay attention to what the numbers are saying and do the things that are getting the most views, because that's a great way to grow, is to give the audience what they're looking for, which is why it's so important that however you start, make sure it's something that you genuinely love, because if you do have something that goes viral, that's your niche. Congratulations. You know, like with my short form content, the first time I went viral, which wasn't even really viral, I don't think it even hit 1 million, but it was like my first like multiple 100,000, I think it's like in the 700 to 800,000 range views, was an Avatar Last Airbender headcanon, and then that became my niche for a while until I was tired of making Avatar content. And then a few months after that, I think, I did like a filter video with Demon Slayer. It took off. It I think is at like 2 million views now, and that's been my niche ever since. I have tried to break free of it. It's been rather difficult to do. I think I'm kind of getting there right now, finally, but that video went viral in like 2021. So that's been my very specific niche. So make sure that whatever content you're putting out there, just have fun with it. If you're not super worried about the growth, then just make content that makes you happy, and don't take comments personally, because that's pretty tough. So I hope that helps. I feel like I'm still so young, like in the YouTube world. I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I still feel like I am not really that big, because I get a lot of my subscribers from short form content. So I hope that someday I can gain a big following from long form. That's the goal, of course, but I'm not anywhere close to where I want to be. So I feel like I'm still learning a lot. So I'm maybe not that good at giving tips, but it was a good question nonetheless. So that was all the time I had for today with your questions. There were a lot that I skipped over. So again, if you got skipped over, just note that it was either like a repeat question that I already answered. I'm planning on talking about that at some point in a video dedicated to that subject, or I might get to it at a later time, so don't feel discouraged if I didn't answer. I only have so much time to record, but thank you so much for watching today's video. This was a little bit, again, more candid. I feel like a lot of what I said was just like very off the wall. I mean, when you're answering questions, that you can't like pre-script it unless you go through and do that with the comments, which I did not. So thanks for watching today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. If you want me to do a part 2, let me know in the comments as well. But I will see you all next time. Mata ne!